off, we do have a guest here, everybody. So please say hello to one Mr. Bourbon Barry.
Oh
my goodness, got the Mets on. Oh my God.
Tom Seaver, baby.
Oh my God. You guys are down 1-0.
Yeah, I'm actually watching Gamecast. We're up 7-3 in the ninth inning, so hopefully we can tie it up.
Oh wow!
Right. Splitting in LA would be a good thing. So listen, I think maybe I got to go get some bourbon berries before I come back.
I'm sorry.
So real quick before we get into the bourbon, the Mets weren't really expected to really do all this stuff, right? I mean,
no,
it was supposed to be closer at the beginning of the year, right?
Supposed to be a transition year. They kind of like purged Scherzer and Verlander, and they were awful at the beginning of the year. Started 0-5, unwatchable, and then magically they started to play well. Lindor has carried the team all year, so here we are, the Miracle Mets.
Wow.
I'm not a Mets fan, but it's always fun to watch a team that you don't expect to do anything to come back, and especially when they start out so rough.
That's the epitome of a Mets fan, the long-suffering Mets fan.
I'm a Cubs fan, man, so I get it.
It's weird, kindred spirits.
Yes.
So, are you from? Obviously, are you based in New York now?
I am. I was actually born in the Bronx, but my grandfather, I guess he must have been. I don't know if he was either a Dodgers or a Giants fan, but they left New York. And when the Mets came in, even though he was in the Bronx, I think he just adopted them because they were, he always liked the underdog. So I grew up with my grandfather, watching the Mets, and But yeah, so I'm based in New York. I'm actually now in Westchester, which is about an hour north of New York City. Yeah.
Well, I actually went to a game last year at Shea Stadium. I was in New York, and we caught a game there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't really care for the airplanes, but otherwise it was a pretty good game.
It's like if you're looking at real estate and it's like near like a railroad, and the realtor goes, "Oh, you don't hear the train after a while." It's like the same thing.
Well, good luck to the Mets. But honestly, I would imagine the baseball media would like to see Yankees and Dodgers. I'm sure.
Yeah, I think that would be
good luck to you, anyways.
I'm all about Cleveland and the Mets.
Holy hell, that would be the worst. That'd be their worst nightmare as far as when it comes to the ratings. At least they'll get a New York team in, possibly.
Yeah.
But, at least one.
That would be wild.
So, but anyhow, all right. So Jeff, you probably know through messaging back and forth. I'll let you two kind of figure this out as far as how this all works.
Well, I mean, basically, I reached out to Barry. I see him on, I see you all over TikTok, your bottle reviews. And I saw, and I love the hats, the fedoras and all that you wear. And yeah, I'm a hat guy myself, even though I've got my UC hat on tonight, but I got about 30 fedoras myself.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. But yeah, I just, I liked your content and thought it would fit good on here. Just, that's kind of what we're doing with, like Charlie said once before that, the YouTubers don't typically go away from what they're used to seeing. So there's not a lot of YouTubers go and see, TikTok videos. And we had his Bourbon Baby on last week. A couple weeks ago, we had the Woodford Bourbon guy. Got you on tonight. So we're just kind of letting our viewers see TikTok side of things.
Sure.
And what that media outlet has to offer. So that's how all this came about. For yourself, why don't you just tell the viewers, how you started, how you came about to be. I know you sent me an email and it had Dr. Barry, so that kind of intrigued me a little bit. I'd like to hear a little bit about that. Are you really a doctor? But tell us a little bit about yourself and your channel.
So yes, so I'm an orthodontist. I'm a dentist.
Okay. I
try as hard as I can to not drink and twist braces at the same time. So it's I have had this question before, and I don't know if it's just because I'm getting older and I my memory fails me, but it's hard for me to pinpoint the one moment where I'm like, oh, I'm going to do this. But so it was a gradual thing. So going back, maybe, I don't know, you get out of dental school, and it was a long time. So I didn't get out of school. I didn't graduate orthodontic school until I was 30. And, you got some catching up to do. And my friends and I guess we thought maybe we were sophisticated. So we started, drinking scotch and smoking cigars and things like that. But it was never, but the whole bourbon thing was really, my dad actually always drank Jack Daniels on the rocks. And, probably like as a teenager, tried, tasted it and thought it was like the worst thing I had ever tasted. But I guess the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And at some point, a buddy of mine, my buddy Michael, brought me a bottle. I don't even know what it was. I mean, I probably had like a bottle of like Macallan 12 sitting on my shelf for like 10 years. And he brought over a bourbon. He was a bourbon guy. And I just kind of like, I got into it like right away. And he like, I thought, wow, because maybe especially compared to scotch, and I like scotch too, but like the sweetness of the bourbon surprised me, because I guess the memory of like, what I thought was like gasoline, sipping my dad's Jack Daniels. And probably, I think he had like, my grandfather actually owned a liquor store. And I think my dad, like growing up, had like a liquor cabinet with like the typical things like Seagram 7. Like I'm trying to think of like the real nasty stuff from like the 70s.
Canadian.
Canadian.
Black Velvet.
Yeah. And I probably got drunk on several of those. And, that was it for a while. But anyway, let's fast forward. So Buddy started bringing me over some bottles to try, and we started to enjoy sipping on them. And I don't know if it was him or like the fateful moment when someone said, "Hey, you really should go on TikTok because there's like this whole bourbon thing." And it's so the whole TikTok thing is like it's habit forming. And so I started to watch these videos and started to get more interested. And so started to go out buy bottles, started to try learning more about it. And I haven't the foggiest idea what it was that actually made me decide to post my first TikTok. Didn't even really know how to do it, but I saw people on there and I thought, hey, I do some public speaking, and I'm kind of thought maybe I thought I could take a different angle. I thought that I could take more of like an educational angle, because I do the science stuff. And anyway, so I just started doing it, and people seem to like the content. And you go down that rabbit hole, and now I've got all these bottles and all these TikTok videos. So it's just sort of like you fall into it. I mean, I imagine your story has got to be pretty similar. It's not like you just all of a sudden get like a rig and set up and start doing YouTube, right?
No, we did. We were doing this for a while. Actually, I had the shittiest ass job, at least in my mind, and that got me to drinking. And before you know it, you're like, oh, this shit's pretty good, and you start drinking the bourbon and all that kind of stuff, and then. I realized it was a shitty job when I left that job and went to something else. And my wife tells me, like, hey, you're not grabbing a pour almost every evening. Now you're just doing it casually. I'm like, oh, you must be right. But then I started enjoying for what it was worth, for what it was, right? And then we have tastings and all that kind of stuff quarterly, and we'll have 12 to 16 friends over, and we'll do like a quarterly tasting and things like that. So that became a thing. And then the original co-founder Bob and I decided to start a podcast, and it's kind of evolved, and then Beth came along, and then Bob had other items or other obligations to do, and now we have Jeff, and then every now and then we'll have some guy named Rob on here to fill in when we need it. So
some guy.
Yeah.
Did you have any like podcast experience before? Because again, it's like an art firm. No, just
no
on the job training.
Yeah. Baptism by fire.
And we've learned tonight that we probably need to start preparing. We've only been on for a year, and we're just now realizing this. It's good to prepare for these shows, and I think maybe we'll start doing that. And here in the next couple of weeks, we're going to be changing our format. But regardless, though, it's been fun, and honestly, for no other reason, I'm just tickled to death at the fact that this has gotten us into places that we have not gotten into otherwise. We got to know some master distillers. Personally, we're texting each other, we're calling each other on the phones, and to me, I'm tickled to death on that. We just realized there's one master distiller lives 20 minutes from us, and he's going to come down on the show, and he's excited, and we're close to Kentucky, so we're kind of in the epicenter, right, of bourbon, anyway. So that does help.
Yep. And for me, I mean, I've been I was the Jack Daniels, shot of Jack with a beer, that guy, and I was just drinking it to get somewhere with it.
Yeah.
But around the pandemic is when I really kind of settled down and started to sip and try to get to understand it a little bit more, and then basically it's history from there. So, but Beth has a little different story.
Yeah. I own a brewery, so beer was or is my my first love when it comes to that, and I didn't have the best experience with liquor as I aged. So I liked it, it didn't like me, kind of thing. So I stopped drinking it for a long time. I'd have a Bloody Mary here or there, maybe a margarita, but that was it. And then Charlie and I worked our day job together, and I started watching this, and so I started getting into bourbon with him about a year ago, and it's kind of been a fun ride since then, and I've really gotten into it and really enjoy it. So I think my palate's really expanded since then, and so I'm having fun with it.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I mean, and part of the whole thing that I didn't even realize, I just thought I'd put up some videos and nobody would watch them. But I have made friends all over the country. Some people that I've actually had the opportunity to meet, other people that only know virtually. But there's a really nice community of people, and it's so that part of it is the best part. Like this kind of thing, just interacting, meeting new people, from all parts of the country, all kinds of different occupations and interests and stuff. And it's great. You never have that opportunity, especially you get to a point. My kids are out of the house. It's me and my wife. I'm still practicing, but it's hard to make new friends these days. So, but not on social media. It's not.
Yeah.
You can make a few enemies along the way too, I suppose. But mostly it's friends.
We know.
Yeah. I totally agree with you there. This community on YouTube and TikTok, even on Instagram, I know a lot of people are kind of crossover with that too. That bourbon community is something special. A lot of good people out there.
Mm-hmm.
So what's been talking about your channel? What's been one of your popular videos that you feel that people have really got drawn to?
So I think that it's two things that they're not tastings. Like the tastings are fun and I'll get some engagement, but the science videos that I do, I have the Science Saturday segment, and then I'll do history segments, talking about all these. I mean, because it's all these colorful personalities. Who is Elijah Craig? Who are the people behind the bottles? And I think that one's. The tastings are great, and I like doing them, and people enjoy them. But there's a million people doing that, so I'm always trying to maybe look for something a little bit different, like a little bit more of a niche. That's something that people don't do. And for me also, the teacher is the one that learns the most. So I've got to research these topics, try to make them entertaining and also educational. So those seem to get good traction. Whether I call it Whistery, that's actually my friend Joel, who the Whiskey Rocks podcast. I don't know if you know Joel. He's a good guy. You should have him on. But he came up with the idea of Whistery. But those seem to get a lot of comments, and people seem to enjoy those. And the thing too, the difference between YouTube. I have a couple of YouTube videos up. I haven't really quite figured out that media yet. But TikTok typically, when you look at your engagement, most people have dropped out after 3 seconds. So if you don't hook them in. So long, and as much as TikTok is kind of encouraging more longer form content, you don't typically get that. So if I do a 3 or 4 minute history video and I'm seeing, let's say, a retention of maybe 50% or 40%, which is pretty darn good. That means, hopefully, to me, that tells me that people are interested and they're willing to watch all the way through, which, it's not the typical kind of TikTok thing.
Yeah, I'm surprised you're able to do long form on TikTok. For them to even be engaged. So obviously it's about the first few seconds and the hook, as you call it, as far as getting them in. But I mean, I see one where here about your freezer cooked out the bourbon gods, gave me cocktail ice. 216,000 views on that one.
And it just goes to show you, right? That's we had a hailstorm. I grabbed a quick video, no production value at all, and it just goes.
It's amazing what people watch. I got it's amazing that people even watch anybody, quite frankly, because as far as like the value, I mean, let's be honest, like the value that I bring to this show or whatever is nothing more than anybody else's value. No, you know what I'm saying? No one person is more important than the other. It's just we decided to put a camera in front of it. Otherwise, we're all kind of the same kind of people.
Yep. Agreed.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree. So but it's funny because I'm sure you have the same thing. You probably do these like, segments that you think are going to be killer, and you don't get the engage. Like, you never know. Like, it's hard to say, but certainly I think people like to see misery, like the poor football player, what's his name yesterday, who like broke his leg, that gets a lot of views.
Yeah.
But,
right.
Or like a hailstorm, or a tornado. That's what people like to see. But and you never know too. And I think too, TikTok, in particular, I get actually now better engagement on Instagram. I think it's clear to me that like what they want to do is when you first start producing videos, you tend to get really good engagement. And then they kind of gradually taper it down. And they really are pushing people, I think, to, let's say, boost their post and monetize it. And I'm not interested in doing that. But and especially when you have, let's say, alcohol related content, which is clearly, when you look at their community guidelines, they do not promote that. So it's kind of a tough road. But Instagram tends to have, like, I have half the followers on Instagram, but I probably have twice the engagement. So but I don't know. It's throwing stuff against the wall, basically.
It's funny you say about the alcohol thing. I mentioned this the last few weeks. We have gotten destroyed and throttled by YouTube because we got an email. Was it 4 weeks now? 3 weeks
roughly.
Now, saying that we're doing alcohol sales. Yeah. And it has throttled. They have throttled our exposure to basically nothing. To where our views. Not that honestly, we still do it because we enjoy it. So whether it's one person or 100 people or 1,000 people watching our videos, I mean, to me, as long as we're enjoying it, I really don't care.
Right.
Yeah.
I care, but you know what I'm saying. So there's no way for me to dispute that. I email them and I get a response back. So to them, we're selling alcohol. Now we may give away free samples, and maybe that's what's ticking them off. So I'm not quite sure what happened there, but nevertheless, that and then TikTok will have their own little security measures.
Yeah, I was on a live one night with Steve Higdon at the Big Bourbon Club, and sitting on my porch, and I had a glass and I had a cigar, and I took a hit of the cigar and I put it down, and I get this pop up so that I'm violating community rules.
Cigars on TikTok.
Yeah. They booted me off.
But they got no problem with boobs. Boobs, no problem. Cigar, terrible.
You say boobs?
Bring it on.
Boobs.
Yeah,
okay,
boobs. Boobs. Yeah, boobs are fine.
Yeah, but there's other areas that on TikTok that are fine too, which is like you can show that and that's fine, but you can't see somebody smoking.
I wonder what would happen to our subscriber list if we changed our name to Bourbon and Boobs.
I've got to tell you,
I'm just saying, like, if we were called Bourbon and Boobs, I'm telling you.
Look, in the history of advertising, there is one constant, and that's sex sells, right?
Yeah.
So you might as well ride the wave, my friend.
Maybe we'll change our name. Maybe that's the announcement we're bringing up in a couple of weeks. We're changing our name to Bourbon and Boobs.
There you go.
That'd be awesome.
So since you started all this, the sampling and all the history and all the science of everything, what was the favorite that you've had as far as the sample of the bourbon? What bourbon was your favorite, if I can get it out?
So I always put that into two categories. There's the sky's the limit category, and then there's the normal people category. So in the sky's the limit category, that GTS, the 2023 GTS, it's the only GTS I've had. It was, I mean, if I had to have one bottle on a desert island, it would be that, because I think it's just complex and interesting and rich and super nice. But again, I think most people are probably never going to lay their hands on a bottle of that. There were so many good bottles in the more affordable range. But before we go there to, let's say, the expensive but not insanely expensive range, the Bardstown Discovery Series. I am a huge Bardstown fan.
Oh my God!
I don't get any commission from them. I always want to say I don't work for the company. I don't get paid by them. I don't have any commission, but I'm a big fan. I did a tour of the distillery back in the spring and was impressed by the combination of like the old world techniques with like the science and technology. Like I think they've got that down. But I mean, I don't think there's that many $150 bottles that are really worth that much.
Yeah.
But like the Disco 9, Disco 11 are just next level. So those are great too. I mean, if I had to have just one bottle, I think those would be good. And there's a lot, like when you get sort of down like into like the $50, $60 range, there's so many good ones. Like one of the first ones that I actually really liked was Old Forester 1910. I think that's kind of overlooked these days. That James E. Pepper decanter. I think the James E. Pepper, for whatever reason, has a lot of Bardstown-like flavors in it. And I don't know if it's because it was the lower barrel entry proof or not, or any of the Four Roses. I mean, there's so many, but that GTS 2023, which I had a privilege of having a pour in a couple of different places, that one stands out.
Yeah, that pepper, the decanter bottle, we sampled that, and we didn't.
It was okay.
Yeah, it was okay, but then since then we've heard several people say, like you said, it's one of the better ones. So we might have to revisit that.
There's quite a few that we need to probably go back to. Have you tried the Disco 12? You probably don't have it out there where you're at yet.
No, we don't have it yet. Yeah.
I tell you what, we have if not, email us your address. I'll send you out a sample. It is excellent.
Yeah, man.
Like
game on.
It might be the best disco that I've had since the single digits.
Interesting. Yeah, I've heard, this is before my time, but I've heard like 6 was really good and 4 was really good.
Four is the best.
4 is the best.
4 is the best. I have a couple of 4s. I'll send you a 4 too.
Oh, that's awfully kind of you.
I'll send you a 4 and let us know what you think about it. I didn't care for the 10 all that much. I thought that we passed on that. I'm buying it.
And we ran into them out at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival too.
Yeah.
And they were at Bourbon on the Banks, and they didn't have Disco 12, but they had 10 and 11. They're trying to get rid of 10.
I think they're trying to unload their 10 inventory.
Yeah, and when we went down to the bottle shop down there on Whiskey Road, they kind of acknowledged that to us.
Yeah.
Because we were asking, well, why isn't this at the Kentucky Bourbon Festival? And it's kind of like, well.
Yeah, they knew 10 wasn't all that great.
Interesting.
So, but no, we'll send you 12 and 4. That to me, those are the best ones. That 12, 4, and 9 are the best ones.
9.
Yeah, 9's great.
9. Yeah, 9's got a lot of wheat in, and like I think by like Maker's Mark maybe was like one of the early bourbons that I liked, and yeah, obviously I'm a big Weller fan too. But I've always kind of been. I'm not necessarily as much of a rye guy. There are some high rye bourbons that I like, but typically I like wheaters or maybe bourbons that have like lower rye content. Like if you gave me 4 rows of single barrels, one had an E mash bill and one had a B mash bill, I tend to lean towards that E mash bill. So that Disco 9 was like right up my alley. But I'll tell you too, I think that the way, and I like Barrel craft spirits. I think Barrel does a really nice job too. But I think the blending that they do in Bardstown, and I don't know if maybe people. It's like blended Scotch. People like turn up their nose at it, but I mean the blending. I think they've done such a good job. I think it's the 9, if I'm not mistaken, that's got some 12-year Canadian corn whiskey. If I'm not mistaken, it's either the 8 or the 9. And you're like, oh yeah, like because it's like 10%, something like that. And when you taste it, you're like, they just put it in there just for that sweetness to balance out some of the other things. But I think. Their blending is I don't think anybody does it better.
No, I think they're one of the best blenders out there. I tell you what, also we when they bought out Green River, they have made them a nice contender in the whiskey world, because before then Green River was horrible. Yeah. And when they bought them out, they brought over a new master distiller, Aaron Harris, and we had met him, and he even admitted that he didn't do this on camera. He admitted off camera that the biggest difference they made from when they bought the Green River Distillery is Green River they weren't cleaning their lines out, and they were only cleaning their lines out like once a month, and they were cleaning out daily now, and that's made all the difference. So, have you had the Green River Foolproof?
So I did. I had the standard issue, which it wasn't my favorite. There was like this bitterness on the aftertaste that I just couldn't get past.
Okay.
But a buddy of mine, I don't know if my buddy Matt, he goes by Black Hat Bourbon on TikTok. So he did a store pick and he sent me a sample of that, and it was completely different. So who knows? Maybe it was just a bad bottle. But I thought the full proof in the store pick did not have any of that bitterness on it.
Sure. So, all right. Well, tell everybody at home again where they can find you as far as platform wise. What are you all on, and what do you post, and when do you post?
So I post almost daily on both TikTok and Instagram. Threads, if anybody even knows what Threads is. But
oh my God, did that even take off?
No. I mean, a little bit,
like a hot second.
Yeah, no, like I think X still has the crowd there, but you never know.
Okay.
I mean,
Yeah,
I
you
think
never
it's
know.
good to have a presence. But mostly TikTok and Instagram. On TikTok, it's Bourbon Barry. On Instagram, someone has that name, so I have the real Bourbon Barry. But I post almost daily. Like the science stuff typically will come out on a Saturday. Try to do a live, like not tonight because I'm with you guys, but typically Monday nights or live nights. So I'll do that next week. And the lives are fun too. Just like a virtual happy.
Yeah,
hour.
I appreciate that. And then, have you ever heard of Clapper, by the way?
I'm on Clapper. Oh, that's another one that's even more smutty than some of the others. But I'm just saying, I'm just there for the articles. But
Sure, yeah.
Oh, it is. Oh, so we should go Bourbon and Boobs on Clapper.
100%. Yeah, I got to tell you something. So if you follow me, if you go onto Clapper, most of the stuff is quite frankly, I just repost the stuff that I did on TikTok. But like I just put up a couple of. All right, so there are royalty-free websites where you can get royalty-free images. Like there's a site called Pexels, Pexels. So you can pull an image and you can put it up and post it anywhere you want. There's no copyright infringement. So I searched for bikinis and found a couple of pictures of hot girls and posted them on Clapper, and it gets like 10 times the engagement as the whiskey stuff. So listen. What would you rather look at? You would look at an old guy drinking whiskey, or would you rather look at a pretty girl in a bikini? I mean, come on. I mean, I got let's be real.
That girl with a bikini drink bourbon.
Well, and I'll tell you that there are some. It's not just a male dominated thing anymore. There are some women on the social media that are doing that, and I think that they're very successful because I think that, and I don't mean this at all to objectify them at all, but I think
I get it.
You're not going to offend me.
their content is very good, but I think guys like to see women talking about whiskey. I mean,
yes.
And I think that they're onto something that helps their engagement. Obviously, gets them. Maybe helps. I don't monetize this at all, but it helps them monetize it. So I don't see anything wrong with it. More power to them.
Right. Yeah. I like Coffee Black Bourbon Neat. I don't know what her name is, but I mean, she's got a lot of good content out there too.
I like Austin Tronzo, who makes a lot of good bourbon. She's been off for a while, but yeah.
Well, I got one of our viewers just said, I know you can't see these things, but Gandy Rhodes is subscribed to your Instagram at Bourbon Berry. Make sure it's the real. It's the real Bourbon Berry, right?
Instagram is the real Bourbon Berry. Yeah, it's kind of a long one.
Subscribe to somebody else.
So, unsubscribe there.
Yeah.
And
I actually messaged that guy and I said, "Hey, I'll buy your name."
Yeah, there you go.
He told me to go F off. So
I'm sure you've heard a million times that you look like Stanley Tucci.
Yeah.
Oh my God, yes.
But you also sound like Paul Reiser, so I'm having a very difficult time.
So I've heard both. I mean, I guess I can't get past the Jewish guy from New York thing. So
there you
I
go.
could probably do what's up with the bourbon? I could probably do the Jerry Seinfeld thing too. But they know how to take the reservation. They just don't know how to hold the reservation. I do get the Stanley Tucci. I appreciate you guys having me on.
Yeah,
thank you.
And we hope the Mets win. I think I'm not sure where the crowd divides at, but at least a game 7. How's that? I would like to see a game 7.
Yeah, well, we actually won, so we're tied up 1-1. A split in LA. Again, we're back to City Field. Let's go Mets.
Yeah, very good. All right, thanks for Barry.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on. It's an honor.
Thank you. All right. Yeah, I should have asked him about. Hold on. Hey, are you still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, real quick. That's awesome.
Drinking some New York hooch, by the way.
Oh,
Right out of Brooklyn, New York.
I was going to ask you, Kings County.
Mm-hmm.
Is it near you, or where is that at exactly?
So Kings County is also in Brooklyn. The distillery is in Brooklyn, so like an hour from me. I'm embarrassed to say that I still haven't done the Widow Jane and Kings County thing, but David's Rickhouse. David's another good guy you should follow. But David, he's a big Kings County fan, and they according to David, they've got some good stuff. They got some badass cask strength stuff that's 150 proof, and So it would be for me. It would be a subway. It would be a commuter train and a subway to get to Kings County.
Okay, all right. And then Whiskey Uncensored asks what part of New York. He is from Westchester, New York, at this time.
Yeah, about an hour north of New York City.
Yeah. So no, I meant to ask about the Kings County bit, and I didn't know Widow Jane was from New York. So that's the first for me.
Yeah, they get their limestone water from the Widow Jane mines, which is in upstate New York. I think they source most of their whiskey, but they've got some good stuff. In particular, this one's a kind of an easy sipper, this Baby Jane. But when you get up into the 13 and the 15 year, it's worthwhile. And same thing with Kings County. They've got some. It's worthwhile to try it.
Well, I got barrel strength, and it's good. It's very dark, and it's very it's deep. If you know what I'm saying, it's got a lot of things going on in there, but it's really just it's good bourbon.
Yeah.
I owe them a visit. We will try to do that maybe in the fall.
All right. Well, very good. All right. Sorry, that just came to my mind when we logged you off. I'm like, oh shit, I forgot to ask you that.
No worries.
Thanks, thanks, brother.
See you,
thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.
All right. Well, that's
Well, that's rude.
Well,
That was good.
You didn't do it. It's just the way it says it. Kick them from the studio.
no, I just
Yeah.
I can walk in the green room and play.
No, I know, but I'm not saying what you've done is rude.
Oh, what,
verbiage is rude.
Oh yeah.
Kick them from the studio. Well, damn.
No, that is kind of odd. So all right. So I think we got some samples to give away.